What's the biggest mistake you see students make when they are approaching their exam preparation?
Going out and getting drunk the night before, I would think, is probably the...
Hello there, podcast listeners. In this episode, we've got Simon from Manchester, and he's not the Simon with a website, it's just a coincidence, he's got the same name, but he's going to give us lots of tips about the IELTS reading, and he's going to tell us about the different types of questions and possibly some tips as well, just to help us pass this. So, how's it going, Simon? All right?
It's good, Ben. How are you? Good to talk to you again. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. It's been a while, eh? Alrighty then, let's get cracking. So, Simon, you've prepared for us a list of some questions for the IELTS reading. Yeah, is that right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, just a quick list, some information for your students. I mean, basically, reading's the second part of the module. It takes about an hour to complete.
Yeah.
So what I want to do really just to begin with is talk to you about the different types of questions that the reading comprises of. I mean, initially you've got the multiple choice questions, and these are just the ABC type, and these types of questions, they test your ability to understand detailed and specific information. Okay.
Right then, I see. So you're just picking out details from the actual reading text, yeah?
Absolutely. It's just your ability to understand the details and the specific information that's contained in the text.
Okay.
And then you've got your sort of information identification questions. And this type of... They're basically asking whether any given information is true, false, or not given. And this question tests your ability to clearly understand what the text is actually, talking about.
I see. So I think that's called basically if you're getting the gist and if you're actually sort of understanding the different types of text, even though it's written differently, it means the same thing.
There's only three answers you can give. It's either true, it's not true, or the information's actually not been given.
Okay, sound.
Then you've got information matching.
Mm-hmm.
These types of questions, they require you to find specific information and place it where they want it to be. So it's a gap exercise. You have to clearly understand the text and be able to understand every paragraph and what information it contains.
I see.
Then you've got head matching.
Mm-hmm.
These types of questions require you to pick a heading from the given headings and place each of them to the paragraphs. So there's a gap at the beginning of the paragraph, and you're looking at a list of headings, and what you're basically doing is trying to, if you've got a clear understanding of the given text, you should be able to make a heading out of every paragraph.
Right. Awesome. Okay, then. And is there some other types of questions there?
There's sentence completion, okay?
Mm-hmm.
When you find an incomplete sentence, and you're supposed to complete it with words taken from the text.
Yeah. Okay, then. I see. And so would you give any advice for doing this one?
Well, what, on the sentence completion?
Yeah.
Yeah, basically, you need to quickly map the incomplete text to a particular location in the text for you to find the correct answer.
Right, I guess.
That really.
Right.
And also, you've got summary completion as well, Ben. Don't forget about that, where a summary part of the text will be given to you, and you're required to complete it by picking words from the text with a given maximum number of words to complete. And that's important, that when you look at the maximum, whether it's 5 or 4, sometimes it's between 2 and 5 words, that you don't exceed that. And that's important with regard to tenses.
Right, I see.
Present simple to present perfect, you're going to use an extra word, and that is important. Okay, and you've got features matching as well, and these are types of questions that require you to find specific information about given features and match it. So, for example, you can be given different people who discovered different things at different times, and you're required to match who discovered what at what time.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So you just need to be quite enthusiastic when matching.
Right.
I mean, the short answer questions, you have to be very, very careful here, because this is a question that expects you to answer the question from the given facts in the text. I mean, you need to check the number of words because you're limited, as I mentioned before. The maximum number of words is always given, so you have to be careful. Yeah. I think what I'd like to do here for your students, Ben, is give some sort of tips, to try and maximise their performance in the exam. And I think, a week or two before the exam, just try and read as many articles as you can, whether it's articles in newspapers, articles in magazines. They'll have access to the internet. Yeah. So, English-speaking websites. Mm-hmm. And it's also important that during the reading exam, it is an hour, and there's only 3 questions, and they do get progressively harder. So you can't allocate 20 minutes to each exam, to each answer. I would always try to do 15 minutes, for the first 2, and allow 30 minutes for the last one, because it does get progressively harder.
Yeah, I see.
But you need to be skimming. You need to be using a technique that we call skimming. That allows a text very fast and with the shortest time possible. And you're just trying to identify the main ideas or the main themes. It's not important to sit there and try and translate every word in every sentence. You want to skim it and just get an idea about what the text is about.
Right then.
And also, when you're looking at the questions in order to find the answers, you need to use scanning, which is a technique where you're literally looking for the answer. You're looking for a specific word or a specific phrase. You're not actually reading each paragraph. You're just scanning it to look for the answer that's required with regards to the question. And it saves you a lot of time. Mm-hmm. And you need to, therefore, look at key words. And obviously, this is self-explanatory. But, I mean, if you're reading the text without identifying the key words, it's basically suicide, what you're doing. You need to mark some of the key words. Yeah. Because when you're reading the questions, your attention is brought back immediately to the key words that you've undermarked. You don't want to be scan the whole paragraph again. Okay? Yeah. It's also important that you look at the title of the text, because the title of the text is listening. The title of the text gives you an idea of what the text is about. So if you read the title, you've got an idea of what type of vocabulary you're going to use. Yeah,
of course. And
it's also important that you check the grammar, because the grammar gives you the tenses, and therefore you find the information. Is it present? Is it future? Is it past? And especially with the negatives, be very careful with negatives in a sentence, because if they totally change the question. If you're not careful, you can end up answering the question the complete opposite of what your intention is, because you've missed a negative in the.
That's good advice. Because I've seen that before in a text, and you go through and you think, just because you've identified the keyword, you think, right, I've got it, and then but you've got to really look at the whole sentence, especially the beginning, or even another part of the paragraph where it might have said, what was actually explained below didn't actually happen, blah, 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 and they can just put that as a way to throw off the student.
Absolutely, and then you answer the question actually the opposite, because you didn't see that there was a negative in there. Yeah. I think some final tips here. Time is important. I mentioned it before. You've only got 60 minutes. There'll never be enough time to read every single word in every sentence in all the reading. So you've really got to do this skimming and scanning. Scanning. You've got to do it. And it's also important that you transfer your answers onto the answer paper, and you do that quickly, and you do it in the right order, and you're answering the right question. I've seen students before who've answered the whole paper, but they've got them on a blank sheet of paper, and they don't have time to transfer answers on the answer sheet, and that's absolutely criminal. Or when they do transfer them, they actually miss one answer box, and then the whole lot after are in the wrong box. So they've got they're blind, So you've got to make sure, I've done these exams myself, as I'm sure you have, and I actually put the answers directly onto the answer sheet, so I didn't have to transfer them.
Yeah.
And then I couldn't get them wrong. So it's confident to do that. That's going to save time as well,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Remember, spelling mistakes, they always count.
Right.
Try to be careful. Try to get your spelling correct. And remember to write clearly. It's pointless, again, having the right answer if the examiner can't, wasting your time again.
Yeah.
And, you've also got to guess at some stage. Sometimes I always say to my students, work on a process of elimination. Sometimes you look at a reading set of possible answers, and one of them is completely and utter rubbish, so just get rid of it. And three of them are actually correct. All three are correct. But one is more correct than the other two.
I get you. Mm-hmm.
Okay? So work on a process of elimination. If you know the answer, fantastic. But if you don't, disregard the ones that are incorrect. And by the process of elimination, what's left must be correct.
Yeah. Absolutely.
It's not important whether you understand why. It's important you get the mark for getting it correct.
Yeah.
Okay. That's what I always call intelligent guessing. And in the end, you have to, my recommendation is, even if there's 10 seconds left and you've got 2 questions that you haven't answered, then just, I call it vote for Joe. Just go A, B, C, or D. Take your choice. My recommendation is C, if you've not time to read it, because statistics prove that more C answers are correct in multiple choice questions than any other. So what I'm saying is, just actually put something in there. Just tick the box. Just tick it. Even blind, you've got a 20% chance of getting it right, even without reading the question. You might need that 1 or 2 extra marks. So it's really important for the students to complete the whole exam.
Right, excellent. Thanks for that, Simon. Just another question, because just before we finish off, what's the biggest mistake you see students make when they are approaching their exam preparation?
Going out and getting drunk the night before, I would think, is probably I think, you've got to be serious. I think you've got to relax on the day of the exam. I think you need to have a quiet evening. You need a good night's sleep, and you need to relax as much as possible. You just need to have confidence that you've done all the preparation that you can. Mm-hmm. Being nervous is not going to help. And avoid the absolute last minute panic of 5 minutes before the exam, still trying to learn something, because it just confuses you at that stage. I think, you've just got to be as relaxed as you possibly can. Yeah. And be clear of mind and be focused and go and do what you've done all the time in your preparation for the exam.
Yeah, good advice. Good advice. It drives me crazy when I get students emailing me saying, "I've got my exam in 5 hours." Oh, what am I going to do? What am I going to be able to do in 5 hours? To improve. You
haven't done it the last 5 months or the last 5.
Yeah, exactly. Alrighty. Well, Rich,
when you're that close to the exam, it's just not worth it. You could probably make it worse by panicking than anything else.
Yeah, that's a valid, good point there. Do you have any other advice that you'd like to give to the students listening before we finish up?
In what context, Ben?
Well, not just in general terms, not specifically in the reading, but just sort of like regarding learning English, regarding test preparation. Any tips?
I think test preparation. There's two issues there that you've mentioned. One is with regard to learning English. and to listen and read as much as you possibly can. Obviously, conversation is really important as well, as you know yourself. But some students might be in the world where they don't have the possibility of doing too much sort of conversation with English speakers. So I think it's really important that they listen as much as possible to English, whether it's movies, TV series, radio broadcasts, news bulletins. I think it's important that they read as they can as well, because subconsciously they're still learning grammar and vocabulary when they're reading, even if they feel that they're not aware. With regards to preparation for the exam, I think it's really important that they understand the process of every element of it, so that they're not getting that for the first time in an exam environment. So whilst we've been talking about reading and that it lasts for an hour and there's 3 parts and it progressively gets more difficult, so allow more time, for the third question. It's important that for the listening, they understand what the listening test comprises of. It's important that they understand the writing. In IELTS, that there's going to be a graph for the first question. It's important that they've done some preparation in writing graph-type answers, so they're familiar with the terminology, with the vocabulary, with regards to answering graphs, and also with the conversation, that they understand how long it's going to last and what the process is. I don't think you can prepare yourself too much for the exam, so that when you go in, you know exactly what's happening. And if you've prepared well, you'll just replicate in the exam environment what your preparation has been, and it'll be successful.
Absolutely, yeah. Fantastic.
If you go in completely blind and you're not aware of the process, you're spending too much time thinking about what you have to do rather than what you do. I think it's just poor preparation, really.
Yeah.
And all students have access to the elements of the exam by simply Googling, IELTS exam, and there's mock exams on the internet that are available.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I say the same, I mean, it's absolutely criminal if you're paying €300 or $250 or whatever it is, and you're not familiar with the exam. You're just throwing your money down the drain. At the very least, get familiar with it, identify where your weak points are, and then focus on those just to build it up,
Yeah, I think you're right. Okay, Ben, unless you've got any more questions.
No, I think that's everything. Thanks so much for agreeing to do this, Simon. It's been fantastic. And all the best, buddy, and we'll speak soon, eh?
Thanks for listening to IELTSPodcast.com.